Good morning, you're welcome to the breakfast on Plustv Africa. My name is Rome Holton. How are you doing this morning? It's Tuesday the 13th of May 2025. Yes, I think I would say smack in the middle of the second quarter. So how is your year going so far? We hope that you're crushing those goals. You're doing everything you need to do just to ensure that life is better for you. I know that sometimes Nigeria can take its toll, but this morning is all about positivity, and we want you to take that into your day. On today's breakfast show, we'll be looking at several hot topics, one of which is World Bank slams Nigeria's electricity subsidy as wasteful, urges further reforms. Much later in the show, we'll be discussing the fact that Wike opposes zoning PDP presidential ticket to North in 2027. We'll also be taking the global stories that has made it to the front pages of our national dailies, as well as some top trending stories. And moving over to our top trending stories this morning, the first one says Lagos hits 1.3 trillion naira revenue in 2024, up 45% from 2023. Now, the Lagos state has achieved a historic revenue milestone of 1.3 trillion naira in 2024, marking a 45% increase from 895 billion naira in 2023. Commissioner of Finance Bayomi Oluyomi announced the figures during the 2025 ministerial press briefing in Alausa, attributing the growth to strategic reforms and improved property tax administration. He revealed that over 14 billion naira was generated through the land use charge, while enhanced digital infrastructure by the Lagos Internal Revenue Service (LIRS) also played a key role in boosting compliance and expanding the tax net. In quarter one of 2025 alone, Lagos generated 333 billion naira in tax revenue, up from 232 billion naira in quarter one of 2024. Oluyomi emphasized that despite economic challenges, Lagos has maintained fiscal discipline and innovation, enabling Governor Sanwo-Olu administration to sustain its developmental agenda. Well, great news for Lagos State. 1.3 trillion naira in 2025, that is, in 2024 rather, that is amazing, especially if we're seeing a 45%. That's almost half, percent increment on this. And I think that's great news to know that people are paying their taxes. Of course, we all know that there are new tax reform bills that are being signed into law. So we're seeing the fact that taxing the people works, but the truth is, when you're taxing the people, you need to be able to ascertain that they can pay these taxes. So for a lot of people, they might not be able to have that spending power, the purchasing power, and then thinking of, having to pay taxes. And that's why you see a lot of people try to do some tax evasion. But knowing the fact that we can generate revenue from it is fantastic. But if the economy is better, then everybody will pay taxes, and we can now generate more revenue. And of course, this is just one of the many ways that we can generate revenue in Nigeria. There are so many other sources: the oil that we sell out, the crude oil, agriculture, and that's why we want a situation whereby we're looking at other ways to be able to have more revenue in Nigeria. And this is just for Lagos State. So imagine if, or whatever Lagos State is doing, imagine if so many other states are imbibing this as well, then Nigeria will definitely move forward. But the question is, when we get this money, or when Lagos State in this case, other states too, get this money, we want to see some level of development, right? The roads, the schools, the healthcare system, we want to see things working. And I know that Lagos is a cosmopolitan city, so in a way they kind of champion everything, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and it starts from Lagos State. Other states can definitely follow suit, but I think at this point it's just to celebrate the fact that they're able to make 1.3 trillion naira revenue, and a lot of that came from taxes, and that's a 45% increase from 2023. So we're waiting to see what the end of 2025 would be, and see if there's even a bigger revenue that comes in out of all of this. All right, another top trending story this morning says Oyetola moves to end foreign shipping waivers, boosts local maritime sector. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy Gboyega Oyetola has announced plans to and the long-standing issuance of waivers under the Coastal and Inland Shipping Cabotage Act, aiming to boost indigenous participation in Nigeria's maritime industry. Speaking after a meeting with NNPC Shipping, Stina Bulk, and Caviton Offshore, Oyetola said the waiver system has stifled local shipping capacity and job creation. To support this shift, the minister directed NIMASA to begin disbursing the cabotage vessel financing fund designed to help Nigerian ship owners acquire vessels and expand operations. He also reaffirmed the government's plan to launch a national shipping line through a public-private partnership. The announcement coincided with the unveiling of Unity Shipping World, a joint venture by NNPC Shipping, Stina Bulk, and Caviton, which aims to develop a modern fleet to serve Nigeria's oil and gas logistics, strengthen local expertise, and train the next generations of seafarers. Well, every time we always want good reform. So if there is a way that we can, make things better, if there's a way that we can have more job creation, because unemployment is still a thing in Nigeria, even though it was said that last year the rate of unemployment kind of reduced. It wasn't significant, and I'm sure a lot of people still have their own opinions about that. So when we see things that can enhance job creation, it's definitely a win-win. So in Nigeria, why can't we have our own? Why do we have to always depend on others? And I think that's what this kind of tackle at the moment, ensuring that, we can have our own seafarers, we can create jobs, and also obviously the revenue is even more because everything is for Nigeria. So for a lot of people, maybe the people who obviously benefit from this, they might have a different opinion, because now having to remove the waivers might affect them. But sometimes you have to think about the long run. With any reform, is it going to be beneficial to the people? Are we going to see things that would just help Nigeria, boost the economy? Why not? Then you have to take it. If there's a sacrifice that needs to be made right now, you have to take it as well. And hopefully you start to see the dividends in a short while. So hopefully that's what will happen with this, but we'll just keep watching and we'll bring you other news when they arrive. Another top trending story this morning says Jamb orders urgent review of 2025 UTME amid mass failure and public outcry. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Jamb, has launched an immediate review of the 2025 UTME following widespread complaints about technical glitches, incomplete questions, and unusually low scores, with over 1.5 million of 1.9 million candidates scoring below 200. In a statement by its public communications advisor, Fabian Benjamin, Jamb acknowledged the spike in complaints and said it is working with assessment experts and ICT professionals to investigate and rectify any system faults, promising swift remedial actions if needed. The move comes as angry candidates threaten a class action lawsuit, while the hashtag "This is not my result" trends online. Meanwhile, Education Minister Tunji Alausa and Jamb Registrar Ishak Oloyede maintains that the results reflect the integrity of Jamb's anti-malpractice system. This has actually been going on, online on social media, and everybody has been talking about this. So the truth is, it can be funny when you see your results. And I remember being in secondary school and, everybody is scared. What's going to be my results? But if you put in the work, you will definitely see a good result. So a lot of people that might be complaining about this, did you do the work? Did you study hard? Were you able to, answer all of the questions? Those are pertinent questions that you need to answer. That's on one hand. On the flip side, if truly maybe there were some unfinished questions or incomplete questions, then Jamb definitely needs to answer to that. So system glitches, especially with the fact that we're transitioning to CBT, so computer-based examinations, so CBEs. If we're moving to that, then you have to ensure that everything works perfectly well. Because imagine a student not being able to answer all of the questions and then they get failed for it just because Jamb did not do their job the way it's supposed to be. Then I think that is quite unfair. And with the public outcry, it's great that they are already deciding to review this. So if possible, if everybody has to write Jamb again, then let's see what happens. But get everything right, get it tight, and ensure that people, or students in this case, can come, write their exams, and then they see their true results. In as much as we're saying, oh, it's the integrity of Jamb, there's no examination malpractice. Fantastic, that's what we want. We want a situation whereby students can actually put what they know, the knowledge that they have on paper, and they get, the results for that. But if everything wasn't done right and the students are having to fail because of the fault of Jamb, then that is quite unfortunate, and it's important that they investigate, review it, and take the necessary actions afterwards. All right, our final top trending story this morning says UK immigration reforms impact African migrants. The UK government has announced sweeping immigration changes set to significantly impact Nigerian and other African migrants. The immigration white paper released on May 12, 2025 includes measures that restrict access to social care worker visas, tighten requirements for skilled workers visas, and shorten the post-study work visa for graduates from 2 years to just 18 months. Additionally, a new visa route would be subject to broader English language tests with stricter oversights for universities, especially those with weak compliance records. The reforms also introduce tougher regulations on family and asylum visas. Migrants seeking protection under Article 8, that's the family life, will face increased barriers, and new deportation measures will apply to individuals with non-custodial convictions. Asylum seekers will face stricter criteria for claiming asylum, with a focus on ensuring home country conditions have changed before claims are accepted. Lastly, the changes also include an extended wait time for settlement. The period required for migrants to qualify for permanent residency or citizenship would be doubled from 5 to 10 years, emphasizing long-term contributions to the UK. These new policies are expected to limit opportunities for many African migrants, particularly the social care and lower skilled work sectors, while prioritizing highly skilled workers. Well, this is not news, because I remember Kemi Badenoch, making a video about this, and which was posted on social media. And of course, the time that you have to, used to get your permanent residency now becomes longer. And in fact, I think at some point she was saying it might even get to 15 years. It just depends on how you're coming in. And this is just in a bid to ensure that they don't have as much immigrants coming into the UK. And the truth is, a lot of Nigerians love to go to the UK, Canada, the United States of America, because everybody is looking to, in our colloquial term, Jackpa, which is move abroad, and obviously looking for greener pastures, especially when you feel like the system here isn't working for you. And so, seeing that the UK is already putting the strict measures for people who want to come in, that would definitely limit the amount of people that leave Nigeria, because you need to be able to meet all of this criteria. Now, leaving Nigeria might be the best thing, but sometimes why don't you just stay here and, help your country, do the work in your country? It's not every time that you want to just run away from a situation, so why can't that happen here? And on the other hand, why shouldn't your country do the things that are necessary for you? So now this is speaking to all of our government officials, our leaders, make Nigeria better. You know how in the United States of America, Trump had his old, his old talk where it says make America great again, MAGA. Why can't we make Nigeria great again? In the past, they used to say Nigeria was amazing. They went to school for free. When you come out from school, you have a job waiting for you. Everything seemed to be better, and right now we may say that there is some level of retrogression over the years. So why can't we make Nigeria great again for people to want to stay here? If you look at the United States of America, for instance, a lot of the, doctors, nurses, people in the healthcare sector, if you look at the average, most of them are Nigerians. That's because a lot of people have left here. So imagine what we're doing with the skills that we have. The human capital that we're supposed to have in Nigeria, we're sending them away, we're sending them abroad. Meanwhile, they can be here, work here, live here, play here, be happy here. But if the system isn't right, so many people would want to leave. And it's not like they want to leave. Everybody wants to feel loved. Everybody wants to be in their home. And you don't want to go to a country whereby you feel like you're less than, you feel like you're a lower citizen. So imagine if I was able to stay here, do everything that I need, and Nigeria is flourishing for me. Why would I even think of moving abroad in the first place? Why would I even be bothered about the fact that the UK is having stricter measures for people to come into their country? I wouldn't care, because my country works perfectly for me. So that's what we need to do. Certain key areas that we definitely need to fix in our country is, number one, the healthcare system. If, for instance, you were on a road and you get involved in an accident, the time for you to get to the hospital and get, medical attention, it might be too long, and you may just pass out on the way. So if we can have proper healthcare systems, that would definitely help Nigeria. That would definitely help the citizens. And even the government officials who keep going abroad for medical healthcare, they don't have to go abroad anymore, because everything is in your country. Another thing is the educational sector. What is happening with our schools? What is happening with our curriculum? What are we doing to ensure that we give quality education, emphasis on quality here, quality education to our kids? In the past, I've heard of stories where people came from other countries to come study in Nigeria. University of Ibadan was one of the best schools in Africa. What has happened to that? So we need to go back to the drawing board. What can we do with the educational sector to ensure that our kids can have that quality education and they can compete anywhere in the world? Development. When we're talking about development, we're talking about infrastructure and whatnot. How are we ensuring that the infrastructure in Nigeria is better? How are we ensuring that we have job creation in Nigeria? Over 70% of the population are youths, and most of these youths, they do not have jobs. They do not even have the adequate skills to be able to compete in the job market. So what are we doing about that? How are we ensuring that every day we're looking at manufacturing companies coming into Nigeria? We're setting up firms that could employ these people, takes most of them out of the streets. There's so many people that have gone to school, they're learned, but they do not even have jobs. You're seeing them taking maybe roadside jobs. Some of them are downfall drivers and whatnot, and these are people who have gone to school. But then they tell you there's no job in Nigeria. So what are we doing about that? I can go on and on, but the honest truth is we need to fix our country. If we can fix our country, everything will work perfectly, and most of our people would not want to go over to other countries, and we're not losing the human capital that we have. Anyways, that's it for our top trending stories. We'll go on a short break. We'll look at the weather. When we return, we'll be taking the stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies, so please stay with us.